A man of sheer excellence, a visionary, took the baton of continuing the noble task of uplifting humanity, making them self-reliant and creating a meaningful life from Vethathiri Maharishi. Padma Shri S.K. Mailanandan, the President of the World Community Service Center, a well-known social activist, philanthropist, an Indian industrialist and the founder of the SKM Group of Companies, a multi-talented humanistic leader. He started his career as a poultry farmer in 1969. In 1975, he founded the SKM Group of Companies, which began with a single poultry farm and is now the leading player in poultry and Siddha products. S.K. Mailanandan's contribution to business and society has been recognized by the Government of India. He was awarded the Padma Shri, the fourth highest civilian award in India in 2013. In addition to this, he has received several awards in various fields. Under his leadership and guidance, WCSC was conferred the consultative status with the United Nations. Through his management and foresight, WCSC has established one of the most unique systems of trust centers and zones spread over 23 countries and 2,300 centers. The Village Service Project, one of the flagship projects of WCSC, is very dear to its president. VSP has grown to include many villages across India and is creating transformation at grassroots level. The awards and appreciations he has received speaks volume of the recognition the country and the world has given. He is our inspiration, the lighthouse for WCSC's Sky Yoga to progress and spread its wings to all corners of the world and touch every soul's life. He is an embodiment of selfless service and epitomizes a true leader and guide for the entire Sky family worldwide. Be blessed by the Divine. We welcome you, sir.
வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வளமுடன். எல்லாம் வல்ல எங்கும் நிறைந்த எல்லாம் அறிந்த இறையருளை வணங்கி உலக சமுதாய சேவா சங்கத்தின் நிறுவன தந்தை ஆசான் அருட்தந்தையருடைய அருளாசிகளை வேண்டி மிக வெற்றிகரமாக நடந்தேறிய நமது கருத்தரங்கிலே என்னுடைய பிரசிடென்சியல் அட்ரஸ் சுருக்கமாக இருக்கும். பிகாஸ் my sort of language. Tattvanyani Maharishi founded this organization, the World Community Service Center, in 1958. The objective of this organization is to achieve world peace through individual peace. This head office in Thiruvanmiyur, Chennai. The main residential training center is at Aliyar, Arutpudi Jyoti Nagar. Vethathiri Maharishi Kundalini Yoga and Kayakalpa Research Foundation was formed at Aliyar in 1984 by Swamiji Vethathiri Maharishi. It aims to analyze and bring out the benefits of Kundalini Yoga and Kayakalpa so that the society can enjoy the benefits. The research has been strengthened with the help of Bharatiyar University by approving WCSC Vision Sky Research Center in 2011. A separate directorate, WCC Research and Development Wing, was formed to associate with different research institutions and to encourage individual projects on sky concepts. Swamiji Vethathiri Maharishi formulated Simplified Kundalini Yoga. Offered it is an education with practices for the upliftment of the mankind. It is an education for holistic health, physical, mental, spiritual and social health. In order to offer this value-based education to the public and to the student community, in particular numerous institutions called as Temple of Consciousness are affiliated to World Community Service Center. Sky Yoga education is taught by over 400 WCC affiliated trusts and 2,500 Sky sub-centers functioning as a spiritual education center. To teach Sky Yoga, 17,500 masters, both male and female, have been trained under World Community Service Center. The 17 zones and 19 directorates have been formed and are functioning in Tamil Nadu and other states. The Sky Yoga activities have been extended to 8 other states in India and 23 countries over worldwide. More than 2 lakh students have graduated in Yoga for Human Excellence in certification, diploma, BA, BSc, MA, MSc, MPhil and PhD courses. The World Community Service Center has developed a special project called for Village Service Project. More than 300 villages are adopted and Sky Yoga is started free cost of the village people. Vethathiri Maharishi College of Yoga has been affiliated to Tamil Nadu Physical Education and Sports University, where BSc, MSc in Yoga for Human Excellence courses are conducted. I am very much happy to appreciate the efforts, research and development in organizing this conference, Science and Spirituality. Doctors, scientists and Sky professors were very much involved in this conference. I am happy that the conferences have motivated the research scholars and also have given lot of scientific ideas based on Vethathiri. I am very happy to appreciate all the doctors and scientists, particularly Dr. Jayaprakash from UK, Professor Thomas from Sweden, Dr. Martin from Sweden, Dr. Leif from Germany, Dr. Dhanasekaran from UK, Dr. Margot from Brazil, Dr. Sachidanandam from UK, Professor Kishore Bakku from England, Dr. Jagadishan from Chennai and Dr. Mala Bhaskar Rao from Nimant, Bangalore, Dr. G. Sivaraman from Chennai, Dr. Raghavendra Swami from Udmalpet and our own doctors, Dr. M. V. Ravindranath, Dr. T. T. Shanmugavel, Dr. Sudandra Devi, Dr. V. M. Rajashekharan, Dr. Santi and Dr. U. Malbarian and other directors. I am very much happy to know that all scholars, Sky professors and college students are enjoying the benefits of this conference. Valga Vaiyagam, Valga Valamudan.
Now, our President Ayya will release a book on.
எனக்கு இங்கிலீஷில் பேச வராது, எழுதி தான் படிக்கணும். ஆனால் ரொம்ப சக்ஸஸாக இந்த கான்ஃபரன்ஸ் நடந்ததுக்கு நம்முடைய டைரக்டரேட், ரிசர்ச் டைரக்டரேட்டில் நம்ம நல்லா ஏற்பாடு பண்ணினதெல்லாம் அவருடைய அட்மினிஸ்ட்ரேட்டிவ் டைரக்டர் குத்தாளிகம், அவருக்கு ரொம்ப நான் வாழ்த்து சொல்ல கிடைக்கும். அதோடு இதை நல்லா ஒளிபரப்பு செய்து மிக டாக்டர் இவர் நம்ம ஜானகிராமன் ஐயா அவங்க டீம் அம்மா எல்லாத்துக்கும் ரொம்ப நான் கூட நினைக்கிறேன் இந்த கான்ஃபரன்ஸுக்கு பிறகு நீங்கள் ஓப்பனாக எல்லாத்துக்கும் போட்டு ரொம்ப சந்தோஷம், ரொம்ப நல்லா பண்ணியிருக்கீங்க. அருட்தந்தையோட கனவு விஞ்ஞான உலகத்திற்கு ஆன்மீகம் செல்ல வேண்டும். காஸ் அண்ட் எஃபெக்ட் சிஸ்டம் விஞ்ஞான ரீதியாக மக்களுக்கு நிரூபிக்கப்பட வேண்டும். ஆக அதை நோக்கிய பயணம்தான் என்னுடைய இந்த கான்ஃபரன்ஸ். இது மேலும் தொடர்ந்து அடிக்கடி இது போன்ற கான்ஃபரன்ஸ் நம்ம நடத்த போகிறோம். ஆக இது சக்ஸஸாக நடைபெறுவதற்கு அருட்தந்தையருடைய அருள் ஆசி, அன்பர்களின் ஒத்துழைப்பு மிகவும் எனக்கு மகிழ்ச்சியாக இருக்கிறது. அனைவருக்கும் என்னுடைய அன்பான வாழ்த்துக்களை சமர்ப்பித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். நன்றி.
President Ayya, may I request our Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Sudha Seshayan, former Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu Dr. MGR Medical University, to join our President in the dais. Memorable occasion, may I request Dr. M.V. Rabindranath Ayya, Dr. Jayaprakash Ayya, Dr. K. Perumal Ayya to join them in the dais. This book is a product of multiple doctors and scientists all over the world. The book will be released by our Honorable President and will be received by our Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Sudha Seshayan. Occasion is distribution of mementos to our distinguished participants. The first memento will be received by Dr. A. Jayaprakash from UK. Next, Dr. Martin Schelling from Sweden. Dr. Miomer from Slovenia, Dr. Marco Taruk from Switzerland, Professor Kishore Baku from UK. Next, we have the shawl distribution, starting with Dr. G. Sivaraman. Next, Dr. M.V. Rabindranath Ayya. Rabindranath Ayya, next. Dr. K. Perumal, Dr. Sudhadevi Madam, Dr. Chakadithan, Dr. Jagadithan, Dr. Mallabhaskar Rao, Dr. Raghavendra Swami, Dr. Rajashekaran, Next we have Arulnidhi Guru Ayya, Arulnidhi Sundarajan Ayya, Arulnidhi Sundarajan Ayya, Arulnidhi Kuttalam Ayya, may I invite Miss Catherine Brigitta, and Dr. Premalata. Next is the presentations for the best posters. As you can see in the hall, it's filled with colorful posters. The first prize goes to Miss Anuradha. Second best poster prize goes to Miss Jayanti. Third, Miss Bhanati will be receiving the best poster prize. The bookwork was heavily supported by two pillars, Abhita and Mangai. May I request Abhita to reach the dais, please. Now, last but not the least, our President Ayya will give memento to our Honorable Chief Guest.
Dr. Sudha Sheshayan, former Vice Chancellor, Dr. MGR Medical University. A dynamic woman who has mastered varied roles with ease. She became a civil surgeon at the age of 30. She is a part of the International Editors Board that published the revised edition of Gray's Anatomy. She takes credit for being the first publishing editor of the translated version of Encyclopedia Britannica in Tamil. She believes the only way to limit yourself is to set limits in your own mind. She has an outstanding academic record with a teaching experience of more than 30 years. For her role as a teacher and administrator, she has been decorated with the Best Administrator Award by the Medical University. She has rich administrative experience, having held various positions, including the post of the Vice Principal of MNC. Her articles on anatomy and medical sciences have appeared in the Science Encyclopedia of Tamil Nadu University. Noted for her discourses and oratory in Tamil, she has for long been a master of ceremonies of key government events, including swearing-in functions of new government. Recently, she also participated in the opening ceremony of the new Parliament of India, anchored it in Tamil and Hindi. A Tamil author, motivational speaker, and social activist. She is a powerful force for good in the world, a role model for women and girls everywhere, and her work is making a difference in the lives of millions of people. We welcome you, ma'am.
ஸ்ரீ குருபியோ நமக. வாழ்க வளமுடன். Respected President of the WCSE, galaxy of spiritually oriented scientists and scientifically oriented spiritual people, delegates and participants in this historic international conference, members of the WCSE at the various levels, and friends. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity to be with such a galaxy of scientists and scholars and all of you this evening. I am a little overwhelmed with that video presentation. The result of what technology brings in. I am a medical professional and have been with the medical department, the Department of Medical Services and Education, since the 1980s. On the other side, I am also a spiritual seeker, giving on and off spiritual discourses. And one question that I very often face is this: how is it possible for someone to be operating in two different spheres? Sometimes it goes to a kind of a rhetoric when people ask me, how is it possible to ride two horses at the same time? My answer to all these people who ask me similar questions goes as follows. Be it whichever country you are in, you could be in Sweden, you can be in India, you could be in US, UK, wherever. Have you ever come across in any part of the globe a coin which is only one-sided? Have you ever come across, or is it possible to come across a coin which is one-sided? If you cannot have a currency coin which is one-sided, please be rest assured you cannot have science without spirituality or spirituality without science. They are the two sides of the same coin. Very often we tend to think that the two sides of the same coin are opposite to each other. Very unfortunate that we think that they are opposite to each other. They are not opposite to each other. They face opposite sides so that they can complement each other. That is all. If I face you this way, I would not know what's happening behind my back. If I turn round, I would not know what's happening here. But science and spirituality are such complementary companions that they face one side for the sake of the other and try and make a wholesome. I'm doubly happy today that the WCSE has attempted to have the first international conference on areas which need to be linked, or at least be explained to people that they are one and the same. It is high time that each one of us realize that science and spirituality are not away from each other. They are not forces which pull away from one another, but are forces which will contribute to the goodness of the humankind. I was also immensely pleased to look at the titles of the various sessions which happened in this 2-day conference. I was interested to learn that there was a session on epigenetics and spirituality. Of course, the scholar is here, and my good friend Dr. Jagadisan, a pediatric geneticist, is also here. Epigenetics, as many of you would be aware, is an area which we have been talking about for the last 2 or 3 decades, but an area which we fail to realize in our everyday lives. The way we live our lives, the way we make unnatural modifications of our lives, the way we meddle with nature, the way we consume things which are not required, would all be making some kind of changes in our genetic mechanism. We do not even know what kind of changes are happening now, and how these changes would be modifying the genes of the human community. It will take at least another 50 years or 100 years for people to realize and understand that certain things which have happened at that point of time were all because of what happened now. All because of what has happened now or the way we have meddled with nature. I would not be wrong if I quote from my first-hand experience. I'm not here to find fault with anyone, but it's required that we open our eyes to truth. Many of us these days are used to have tiled flooring in our homes, offices, and other areas. India or Bharat had always had mud floors, or at the most, until about 2 decades ago, many of the village homes, many of the rural homes, many of the homes in the small towns had only a kind of a cement flooring. We have now moved away to vitrified tiles all over, or even marble, or something much more than that. I'm not very aware of all those new things which have come in the market. Maybe my construction friends, construction experts would know all that. Some time ago, when I was in a particular institution, I would not want to quote the name of the institution here. When I was part of a particular institution, there was a necessity to construct an animal house. Not a new animal house, but demolish the old one and construct a new one because of certain topographical changes we were making in the campus. The engineer who was responsible for constructing the animal house came up with a plan, and sometime during the discussion, I had to kind of tell him, let's have the old cement flooring. He would not agree with me, and he said, it's not possible because of the current style of construction. We had very aggressive arguments, and the argument went to that extent that he turned around and asked me, Madam, na engineera, neenga engineera? So I had to just keep quiet, but something was irking inside. I kind of told him, sir, I'm still an old-fashioned person. I believe in the old school of thought, and I would not want vitrified tiles, especially for the animal house. He would not agree, and I had to succumb to the kind of scholastic pressure that came. The animal house was constructed. Small animals, there was no problem. They were all put in the small cages or, the chambers. But then the large animals, the big animals, especially sheep, had to be transported and translocated to the new animal house. Believe me, all the kind of arguments that went in favor of the vitrified tiles in the animal house, they said the animals would soil and it's easy to clean up. It's difficult to clean the old kind of flooring. This is easy and all that. But believe me, 15 days mere 15 days into that space, all my poor sheep developed bow legs. All of them. I had to take up the issue with the engineer, make him break the floor. I carried the iron rod and said, I will break this floor now. Now reconstruct this place. The damage is done. At least let it not worsen. I am trying to tell this not to find fault with anyone, but just to remind ourselves, at least people of India, people of Bharat, would remember that there was a time that we all squatted on the floor, even for eating. And today, there is no house without a dining table. Probably Dr. Jayaprakash would remember, Dr. Jagadisan would remember, when we were children, dining table was a luxury in every house. Today, there is no single home without a dining table. And many of us have forgotten the regular habit of squatting on the floor. கல்யாண பந்தியில கூட இப்ப கீழே வச்சு சாப்பாடு போடுறதில்ல. We have changed our lifestyle. We're not sure as to what all changes would be happening in our DNA mechanism because of all these cumulative effects. Non-DNA interference in the genetic mechanism and the results lead to epigenetics. Now, these are all non-DNA mechanisms. And how many ever things we are doing without any respect to nature, without any care of nature, we are not aware of. Spirituality is that sphere of activity. Call whatever you want as spirituality. But spirituality, please remember, is based on natural way of life and natural force. The scholars here will know our lifestyle changes have now led us to the concept of One Health. And we saw the effect of meddling with nature. When COVID-19 struck the world, fortunately or unfortunately, I was heading the Medical University of Tamil Nadu. We were into research. We identified a vaccine candidate. However, again, a question that used to come to me, especially in the initial phases of the pandemic, when will this virus disappear? That would be the standard question. When will this virus go away? Pardon me, my answer to that was another rhetoric. Where do you expect the virus to go? Would it go to the moon? Would it go to Jupiter? Would it go to the Andromeda constellation? Or where will it go? Where will it go? It will be there. Maybe it will take some time for us to eradicate, as we eradicated the rinderpest and the smallpox viruses. But then, until the scientists are able to eradicate, it will stay with us. Maybe endemic pockets here or there. The next question will be, will another new virus emerge like this? That all depends the way we meddle with nature. If you go back and trace the history, every time a new virus emerged or a new organism emerged, it was when the humankind meddled with nature. When did the smallpox virus come in? 12,000 years ago. It was originally a virus which lived in the rodents. Mankind expanded, men required more inhabitation, they moved in, they entered into places where the rodents were occupying, the virus jumped from the rodents to humankind. When did dengue virus become a fatal virus? Again, people might remember those days, dengue was there, but then dengue was usually called a breakbone fever. It was not a fatal disease. People used to say, I had dengue and I had body ache, and be done with that. Sometime in the 1960s, sometime between 1920s and 1960s, it is thought that the fatal variant of the dengue virus emerged. But why did the fatal variant emerge? Again, urbanization, entering into animal territories, human encroachment into animal areas, deforestation, all these changes manipulated and the virus became a fatal virus. Today we fear the mere utterance of the term dengue. Now try and trace what happened. When did Marburg come? When did Hanta come? When did all the SARS and MERS and all those viruses, newer variants of the Ester year viruses arrive? All these arrived when there was some kind of meddling with nature. And that is where spirituality needs to be revived, and revived. Living in unison with nature. Spirituality is not related to any religion, any particular religion. However, spirituality has one basic dictum: live in unison with nature. That basic dictum also decides what science is. Someone here was talking about, I think it was in the video, that Maharishi was talking about philosophy and science. People here, I do find lots of professors, lots of scholars. Now please go back and check your certificates. Dr. Jagadisan finished his medicine and then went for his doctoral degree. Dr. Jayaprakash again finished his medicine and went for, higher qualifications. There could be any number of you who have taken your doctoral in various disciplines. It could be English, it could be Tamil, it could be science, it could be physics, it can be education, anything. Even if you have a doctoral in education, you have a doctoral in humanities, you have a doctoral in social sciences, in Tamil literature, in English literature, in German literature. What does your degree say? Doctor of Philosophy? It does not say Doctor of Science, okay? Philosophy and science are not something away from each other. Have you ever questioned as to why a PhD in Tamil, why should it be PhD? You say doctoral study, but then it's only Doctor of Philosophy. Remember what Maharishi said, philosophy seeks truth, science seeks truth, spirituality seeks truth. That is all. That is all. Seek truth. Spirituality and science are not different. Kindly permit me to give one small little example from the spiritual scriptures of Bharat. Many of you here would have heard your grandparents tell you something. The grandparents usually say, especially in this part of the world, that for human beings, it's for people on earth, it's 1 year, 365 or 365 and odd days. But for the Devas in the Devaloka, it's something different. It's 1 year for us, but then it's only 1 month for the Devas, and then it's only 1 day for God. All of us have heard this. When we are children, we hear this, and with all awe-inspired eyes and imagination, we go to the grandparent, the grandmother, or the grandfather. Please repeat, it's 1 year for us, it's only 1 month for the Devas. But when we grow a little, we start teasing the grandparent. Enna paati kada udra? You're telling us all stories. What is this? How can it be 1 year for us and Devas? How can it be only 1 month? The Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is one of the spiritual books of this country, talks about time. The Bhavishyottara Puranam also talks about time, and in fact forecasts what would happen after some time. Now, if you take all the information that is there in all these Puranas and scriptures, there could be small variations, but I'm trying to summarize them and give them in one fashion or one pattern. We talk about the yugas. There are 4 yugas, and these are cyclical in nature. And we are currently in the Kali Yuga. Right? You all agree that we are in the Kali Yuga? Yes. We are somewhere on 5,000 and dot. Kali 5,000 and dot. The scriptures tell us Kali Yuga will have 4,32,000 years. 4,32,000 terrestrial years or human years. And the previous Yuga was the Dwapara Yuga, the Yuga of Krishna Avatar. And Dwapara will mean 2 or twice. So Dwapara Yuga will have twice the number of years as the Kali Yuga. And before that, Treta is 3 or thrice. So 3 times Kali Yuga. And Satya Yuga or the Krita Yuga before that, 4 times Kali Yuga. Now these 4 yugas put together will be called a Mahayuga or a Chatur Yuga. How much will it be, or how many years, how many human years? will that be a Mahayuga? 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1, right? 1, measure of 1 is 4,32,000. So 10 times 43,20,000 years. And the daytime of Brahma, the creator, the daytime, one daytime of Brahma will be 1,000 Chaturyugas. One Chaturyuga we calculated. If you want to calculate for 1,000 Chaturyugas, please go home and calculate. One daytime of Brahma is 1,000 Chaturyugas, and one night time of Brahma is again 1,000 Chaturyugas. And 1 year of Brahma will be 360 days of that calculation. One night and one day will make one day, and multiply that. And what is the lifetime of one Brahma? 100 years of that kind. 1,000 Chaturyugas, one Pahal Podudu. The daytime is the light time. 1,000 Chaturyugas, the dark time. Put together one day. 360 days of this kind is 1 year. 100 years of this kind is Brahma's Ayus, or Brahma's lifetime. And Brahma will disappear after his lifetime is over, and a new Brahma will come. Now all this will look like what kind of thing being told to us? What kind of stuff? What is all this? But all these will have an undercore to say that this is human year calculation. See, even if we say 1 day of Brahma, for him it is only 1 day. For us it is 1,000 plus 1,000 Chaturyugas. So there is some kind of difference there, variation there. This is exactly what the grandmother said. It is, 1 year for us, and for Devas it is 1 month, and some kind of thing. Now keep all this on one side. When the 20th century closed, the entire globe, on all surveys, pointed at one scientist as the scientist of the millennium. You remember the name of that scientist? Everywhere, wherever there was a survey, people were asked, and they all said the scientist of the millennium. And that was Albert Einstein. And what did Albert Einstein say? Relativity of time. Time is relative. And I do remember Bertrand Russell's explanation for relativity. When Einstein was not able to communicate to the common mass and say what exactly relativity meant, Bertrand Russell came up with a very creative explanation. There's a lovely book written by Russell, ABC of Relativity. But Russell came with a very comprehensive summary of explaining relativity. He said, if one is sitting with a girlfriend, even 1 hour becomes 1 minute, but the same person sitting with a grandmother, even 1 minute becomes 1 year. And that is relativity. Now, if I try and equate relativity, I am able to understand my grandmother also spoke of relativity of time. When she said it's 1 year for us and 1 month for Devas, it was mere expression of the fact that time is relative. And today, many of us realize it when we set our clocks back, when we cross certain areas. Yes, Dr. Jayaprakash, when you go to UK, it's a different time. Every time we cross the seas, there is some kind of a change. Only thing is, many of your Android phones don't need you setting it back. They have an automatic setback and they pick up the time of that zone. Dr. Sanjeevi, a famous physician in Chennai, the then Madras, Dr. Sanjeevi established the voluntary health services. Some of you might have heard that name. In his memoirs, he records, when Mahatma Gandhi was killed in India, that fateful day, Dr. Sanjeevi was in the United States. The news went to US too, but then Dr. Sanjeevi would record and say, like when he came back to India and he was talking to his children about the death of Gandhi, they were all surprised because, Appa, how did you know about this death on the morning itself? Because it was morning time in US when the news went. So the children were asking, Appa, Gandhi saindrantanappa settu ponaru, unaku eppadipa kaaleliye theriyum. That is one proof as to how time is relative. And this concept was given in all the spiritual scriptures. Almost every Purana talks about the fact that it's a different time in different areas or lokas. Time is different in different lokas. You and me wonder, where is this Devaloka? We don't have to bother about as to where Devaloka is. Another parallel example. How do we calculate time? When we say a day on earth, how do we calculate? Someone please tell me. How do we calculate? The revolution of the earth, it revolves around its own axis, right? 24 hours. And when it goes round the sun, that becomes 1 year. We all agree to that? When the concerned planet rotates around its own axis, that becomes 1 day for the planet. The same planet going round the sun, because it's part of the solar system, that becomes 1 year. That's how we calculate. And for Earth, it is 24 hours and 365 point something days. Now, what's the position in the Venus? What happens on the Venus? Venus takes a longer time to rotate around its axis than the time it takes to go around the sun. In other words, the Venetian day is longer than the Venetian year. So day and year need not be the way we think. We think year is longer, day is shorter, but then year and day can be different, right? Again, relative. So these are small examples where spirituality and science have parallel process of thinking, of patterning, and explaining truth. I would just conclude with another tiny example. This is not even spirituality. This is not even labeled as spirituality. In this part of the globe, at least in South India, there is a specific way we serve food on the plantain leaf, right? The plantain leaf is laid in front of the person, and there is a specific way. The narrow part of the plantain leaf should be to the left of the individual, the broader part to be on the right of the individual, and specific areas where different items of the food has to be kept. And we keep teasing, saying, what is this? Only if you keep it here can I eat? Why not eat from there? Keep it wherever you want and eat. That's a different thing. இங்க வச்சாதான் சாப்பிடணுமா? ஏன் அங்க வச்சா சாப்பிட மாட்டீங்களா? People there know, right? These questions are often asked. The women folk will know because these questions come from the children. But remember, most of us are right-handed. And the placement of the plantain leaf is in such a way that the broader portion is closer to the right side, and whatever you need to consume in more quantities, larger quantities, is kept on this side of the plantain leaf. The salt and the pickle are kept there. Now, for those of you who keep giving advices, don't take much salt, don't take much pickle, please imagine, sit down on the floor, the plantain leaf is laid in front of you, and then you'll have to, do that to take that salt. எம்பி எடுக்கணும், இல்லை கையை நீட்டி எடுக்கணும், கை வலிக்கும். 2 தடவை எடுத்ததுக்கப்புறம் I don't want pickle, I don't want salt, because you'll have to strain yourself and take it. It's not given as an advice, it's not given as, health advice for the century. No, nothing of that kind. It's part of your life. It's given as part of your life. Moderation in anything. Moderation. Anything. Diabetologists will know. Moderation in anything. It's not that don't have it at all, but have things in moderation. Live life in moderation. More than that, I'll tell you one more scientific fact. I know people who are familiar with agriculture are here. You've seen the plantain leaf roll out. The plantain leaf will roll out. முதல்ல மரத்தில் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா அப்படியே சுருண்டு இருக்கும், அப்புறம் அப்படியே roll out ஆகும். When it rolls out, it is that portion which is closer to you when you eat, or at least the portion that you're supposed to keep closer to you is the one that rolls out first. It rolls out anti-clockwise. When it rolls out, that portion comes out first, and that is the one that gets spread first. The rest of it is still partially rolled. And again, women will know, when you pack food in plantain leaves, you remember, if the leaf is still not completely mature, what do? அடுப்பில் காட்டுவீங்கல்ல, you heat it up, you warm it up, it becomes a little condensed and thickened so that it can hold the food. It will not tear, it will hold the food. Now imagine, the portion that rolls out first is exposed to sunlight, much more than the portion which is rolled inside. So there is a natural condensation, there is a natural thickening of that part of the leaf which is kept close to you to hold your rice and, portions which are more and larger in volume. This is a simple thing, a very little thing of how to serve food. And imagine how much of scientific thinking has gone into it. How much of thinking, how much of testing, how much of trial and error, and ultimately consolidating, this is how it should be done. This cannot even be labeled as spirituality. It's part of custom, it's part of the system. If this simple thing can have so much of scientific thinking, imagine all those age-old customs which have been brought down in spirituality, whichever part of the world. How much of scientific thinking would have gone into each of those parameters? Friends, it is this parallelism that I would want you to think about. I'm sure this international conference has sowed the seeds of a thinking which will link science and spirituality. Science comes from the Latin root scia. Scia means knowledge. That is why we translated science as Ariviyal. And please tell me, can you find a place where there is no knowledge? Can you think of any activity which does not have knowledge? Maybe certain activities are kind of derogated to that level where knowledge is forgotten. But if we are seeking knowledge, and that is what Arivu means, if we are seeking knowledge, we'll be scientific and spiritual too. If we are seeking knowledge, we'll be both scientific and spiritual. And I wish not only the afterthoughts of this conference take us to that blend of science and spirituality, but I also wish more and more of such events, programs, conferences are brought up so that all of us enjoy the benefits of merging science and spirituality. All the best, and once again, thank you very much for a wonderful opportunity. அறிவு திருக்கோயில் அறிவியலும் ஆன்மீகமும் ஒன்றுதான் என்பதை உணர்த்துகிற இடம். அறிவு திருக்கோயில் ஆழியாறில் இருக்கிறதுன்னு யார்கிட்டையாவது சொன்னால், அந்த அறிவு திருக்கோயிலை ஆன்மீக எஸ்டாப்ளிஷ்மெண்ட் அப்படின்னு தானே எல்லாரும் நினைப்பாங்க. ஆன்மீக எஸ்டாப்ளிஷ்மெண்ட் அறிவை நோக்கி செல்லுகிறது. அதுதான் அறிவியல் என்பதை உணர்ந்து கொள்வோம். வாழ்க வளமுடன். நன்றி, வணக்கம்.
வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வளமுடன். காலம் எது போன்றது டாக்டர்? காலம் பொன் போன்றதுன்னு சொல்லியிருக்கிறாங்க. வேதாத்திரம் சொல்கிறது காலம் உயிர் போன்றது. டைம் இஸ் கோல்டு, பட் அவர் வேதாத்திரியம் சேஸ் டைம் இஸ் லைஃப். It's our Maharishi's divine grace that made this conference possible. This is the first science and spiritual conference integrating Western scientists, sky professors, and research scholars. With the blessings of divine, grace of Guru, and guidance of our President, we have been able to conduct this conference in a grand manner. It is always said pictures can speak better than words. It is always said pictures can speak better than words. With this in mind, we would like to thank all of you through a short video. Please.
The science and philosophy both are searching only one thing, the universal truth. The science only is the field left to save mankind in the future.
தேங்க்யூ வெரி மச். வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
Say a few words on behalf of the foreign speakers. I would like to thank the President and other leadership of WCSC for this fantastic event and for sponsoring everything and inviting us to this absolutely amazing venue. I would like to thank also the technicians on my right for fixing everything regarding the presentations. I also like to thank the kitchen staff and other staff. We have been fed with the most marvelous food. We have been initiated and taught in meditation, and I'm sure that many of us will continue when we get home. And last but not least, Jaya Prakash, the humble person you are, you never told us how big this was going to be. I thought this would be a small event, 30 people discussing for a few hours, and then we come here, treated like this, met with such respect and kindness. I like to thank the audience as well. So, thank you everyone. It's been a pleasure to be here, really a pleasure. I hope we continue to talk.